They laughed at you when you were down, but they didn't realize broken pieces in the hands of God become a masterpiece that terrifies the enemy. Chosen one, listen closely. They mocked you. They ridiculed your dreams, called you a fool, and said you'd never find love. They looked at you and saw someone weak, someone they could walk over, someone they thought would never rise again. They rejected you, humiliated you, and left you in the ruins, thinking the story was over. They hurled the words like weapons, meant to break your spirit, meant to crush your hope. They thought they were right. After all, who could love someone like you? That's what they whispered when you weren't around. They called you naive, foolish, blind, and then they walked away laughing, leaving you alone to pick up the shattered pieces of your heart. But what they didn't know is this: the very ashes they left you in became the place where God began His greatest work. What they tried to destroy, He rebuilt stronger. What they thought was the end of your story was only the beginning. They mocked you because they couldn't see what heaven already knew. They saw the scars, but they couldn't see the crown. They saw the rejection, but they couldn't see the divine protection surrounding you. They saw someone they could tear down, but they didn't realize that being chosen means being unbreakable. And thank you, yes, you, the chosen one. Your presence and super gifts are what fuel this divine mission. If you're ready to rise from the ruins, claim your God-approved love, and step into your destiny, smash that like button, hit subscribe, and drop 77 in the comments. Let's dive in together. Now, chosen one, let me remind you of something. You are God's chosen. His eyes have been on you every step of the way. Every tear you cried, He collected. Every insult you endured, He noted. Every time they doubted you, God smiled because He knew what was coming next. You see, being chosen isn't just a title, it's a calling. It's a light that shines so brightly it blinds your enemies. It's a power so profound it makes them restless, even when they've convinced themselves you're defeated. You were never defeated. You were being prepared. They thought their rejection would bury you, but rejection was God's redirection. Their insults were God's tools to refine you. The loneliness you felt wasn't abandonment. It was God setting you apart for something greater. They thought you'd stay down, but what they didn't understand is this. Being chosen means that every time you fall, heaven itself pulls you back up. Every time they laughed, heaven was writing your victory. Every time they called you foolish, God was setting the stage for them to watch as you step into the love story He's been preparing for you. Chosen one, the enemy is terrified of you. They mocked you because they feared what you could become. They tried to destroy your hope because hope is dangerous to them. They wanted you to believe their lies, that you'd never find love, that you weren't good enough, that you were unworthy. But let me tell you something they'll never admit. The only reason they threw stones at you is because they couldn't handle the light that shines through you. The only reason they left you in ruins is because they knew that if you ever discovered your worth, their lies would crumble. And now you're about to walk into a love so powerful it'll silence every doubter and prove every word they spoke against you wrong. Chosen one, your true love is coming. God has approved it. This isn't just a love story. It's a divine move that no one, not even your enemies, can stop. The one they said didn't exist, the love they said you'd never have. It's already written in heaven, sealed with God's approval, and it's on its way to you. They thought their rejection would define your story, but God had already written the ending. And spoiler alert, your ending is victory. The enemy thought they had you defeated, but they forgot one thing. God always has the final word. This is your time to rise, to step into the love that was always meant for you. They laughed, but now they'll watch. They doubted, but now they'll see. Because being chosen isn't just about survival. It's about walking in glory that haunts those who tried to destroy you. And now, let's dive into this step by step. Trust me, if you are truly a chosen one, you'll feel the undeniable pull to stay until the end. This message is meant for you, and every word will resonate deeply with your spirit. Stay with me. You don't want to miss this. Number 1. They mocked you, but heaven was watching. True love arrives not in your timing, but in God's, and when it does, it silences every lie they ever spoke against you. They mocked you. They rolled their eyes when you dared to dream of true love. They called you foolish for holding on to hope, for believing that someone out there was destined for you. How could someone like you ever deserve that kind of love? They sneered. Their whispers dripped with venom, spreading doubt like poison. You heard them, didn't you? The subtle digs, the cruel remarks masked as jokes, the pity in their eyes, as if your dreams were nothing more than delusions. They thought they had you all figured out, broken, naive, a fool waiting for something that would never come. But let me tell you something, chosen one. Heaven was watching the entire time. While they mocked, heaven kept the score. While they hurled their insults and turned their backs, God's plan for your life was unfolding behind the scenes. What they didn't realize, what they never understood, is that their opinions have no bearing on divine timing. Their words carry no weight in heaven. The rejection, the betrayal, the cold laughter, they thought it would define you, but all it did was refine you. And yet, I know the questions that echo in your mind, because they've lingered in mine too. Why would they treat me like this? Am I truly unworthy? Was I really so foolish to believe that love could find me? These questions weigh heavy when the world seems to be shouting answers that tear you down. But hear this. You are not what they said you are. You are chosen. You are covered. You are divinely protected. And being chosen isn't just a blessing. It's a fire that burns brighter because of the very storms meant to extinguish it. You see, their laughter wasn't just cruelty. It was fear. The enemy always mocks what he cannot destroy. They saw your faith, your hope, your resilience, and it unnerved them. They saw a light in you they couldn't understand, so they tried to snuff it out. That's how it works. People ridicule what they don't have the courage to believe in for themselves. But what they didn't know is that being chosen comes with a protection they can't touch. While they were laughing, heaven was fighting for you. While they rejected you, God was setting the stage for your elevation. Every time they whispered behind your back, heaven heard it. Every time they doubted you, God's angels prepared a table for you in their presence. Remember this: their rejection was never a reflection of your worth. It was a sign of God's redirection. They were not meant to stay in your story, chosen one. Their laughter and mockery were just background noise, distractions meant to shake you. But you stayed standing. You didn't give up. And now, heaven is about to show them exactly what happens when a chosen one refuses to bow to the lies of the enemy. Imagine this. A potter takes clay, presses it, crushes it, and spins it until it seems like nothing more than a shapeless mess. That's how they left you, didn't they? Shapeless, crushed, mocked. But what they didn't realize is that you were in the hands of the master potter, the one who turns broken clay into works of art. Their laughter was the fire, but you were the gold being refined in the flame. And now you shine so brightly it blinds them. Let them laugh. Let them roll their eyes. Let them underestimate you. The very love they said you'd never find is on its way, sealed and approved by God Himself. This isn't just a human love story. It's divine. It's the kind of love that makes their words crumble like ash. And when it arrives, they will see what heaven has known all along, that you were always worthy, always enough, always destined for something extraordinary. Chosen one, never forget this. When heaven decides, the world's rejection means nothing. God's plan is like a river. It flows around obstacles, carves its path through stone, and carries you exactly where you need to be. No laughter, no rejection, no enemy scheme can stop what God has written for you. The love that's coming into your life will not only heal you, but will also make the doubters question everything they ever said. And when they see you rise, they'll realize they weren't laughing at you. They were laughing at a plan they couldn't begin to comprehend. The enemy's greatest mistake was underestimating the power of being chosen. They thought your silence meant defeat. They thought your patience meant weakness. But they didn't know that every moment you waited, God was working. And now, the time has come. True love is on its way, and it will be everything they said you'd never have, and more. Chosen one, you've already won. Stay with me, because the best is yet to come. Number 2, rejection was God's redirection. Rejection doesn't mean it's over. It means God is steering you to where you were always meant to be. They left you. They left you in ruins, didn't they? They laughed as you stumbled, as your heart shattered into pieces. They watched you cry, and maybe, just maybe, they even felt satisfied seeing you that way. You opened your heart, you gave your best, and still they walked away. And not just quietly, they walked away with smugness, as if their rejection of you was the ultimate proof that you were unworthy, unlovable, and disposable. You'll never be enough, their actions screamed. You'll never find the love you're searching for. Rejection has a way of leaving its mark. It whispers lies to you in the dark. Maybe they were right. Maybe something is wrong with me. Maybe I am unworthy. Those thoughts creep in, don't they? They twist and pull, making you question your dreams, your faith, your value. They linger like shadows, threatening to smother the light of hope that's barely flickering inside of you. But listen to me, chosen one. Rejection was never the end. It was the divine redirection of your life. They left you in ruins, but what they didn't realize is that God specializes in rebuilding from the rubble. Every rejection, every door slammed in your face, every tear you shed was part of a bigger plan. They thought they crushed your spirit, but God used the very weight of their rejection to strengthen you, to prepare you, and to redirect you toward a love that is greater than anything you ever imagined. They saw your heart break and laughed. They mocked your vulnerability, your hope, your faith in love. You're foolish to believe in such things, they thought. But what they didn't understand is that your heartbreak wasn't the end of the story. It was the plot twist. They thought they had the final word, but God was just getting started. Rejection wasn't a punishment. It was protection. God wasn't letting you settle for less than what you deserve. He wasn't letting you build your life around people or situations that were never meant to be permanent. You see, every no you heard wasn't a failure. It wasn't because you weren't good enough. It was God's way of clearing the path for the yes that would change everything. If you had stayed in the places where you were rejected, you would have missed the greater blessing waiting for you. Think of it this way. Rejection is like being detoured on the road. It's frustrating in the moment, isn't it? It makes you feel lost, confused, even angry. But what you don't see is that the road you were on had a dead end. God's redirection is taking you to a better path, a path that leads to love, healing, and purpose. Rejection can feel like abandonment, but chosen one, it's not. It's alignment. God is aligning every part of your life with His divine plan. What they threw away, God is restoring tenfold. The people who didn't see your worth, who treated you like an option, will one day look at you and realize they let go of something precious. They rejected you, not realizing that you were chosen by God Himself. And when God chooses you, no amount of rejection can cancel your destiny. Remember this: the people who walked away from you weren't equipped to handle the magnitude of who you are becoming. Their rejection doesn't define your value, it reveals theirs. You were never meant to shrink yourself to fit into their small view of the world. Their leaving was God's way of removing distractions, of clearing your life of anything that might block the love He has prepared for you. You weren't discarded, you were set apart. And here's the truth that will silence every lie they told you. The love that is coming will restore everything they tried to take from you. God doesn't just repair, He redeems. He takes the places where you were torn down and builds them into monuments of His glory. The very love they said you'd never find is the love that's on its way to you now. It's not just a human love, it's a divine appointment. It's a love that will make you look back on every rejection and thank God for closing the doors that weren't meant for you. Chosen one, the rejection you endured was never meant to define you. It was meant to refine you. You are stronger now because of it. You've learned who you are, and more importantly, whose you are. You belong to God, and His plans for you are unstoppable. The people who rejected you thought they were breaking you, but they were only propelling you toward your destiny. What they left in ruins, God is turning into glory. What they discarded, God is making whole. And the love they said you'd never find, it's already approved by heaven and on its way. Rejection isn't the end of the story, it's the beginning of a better one. Stay with me, chosen one. The next chapter is about to unfold, and it's going to prove every doubter wrong. Number 3. From trash to treasure, they didn't see your worth. What they called worthless, God calls chosen. What they discarded, He's turning into something priceless. They treated you like you were nothing, like you were disposable, like your heart, your dreams, and your love had no value. They used you when it suited them, then tossed you aside like yesterday's garbage. They didn't bother to see the treasure you carried inside. To them, you were just a convenience, something temporary, something they could pick up when it was easy and throw away when it wasn't. They never stopped to think about the impact their actions had. Why would they? In their minds, you were replaceable, someone who would always be there, someone who didn't matter enough to fight for. And let's be honest, that kind of treatment leaves scars. It makes you wonder, am I really worthless? Is there something about me that makes me so easy to leave, to disregard? Those questions can fester in your heart if you let them. They can make you doubt yourself, doubt your worth, and even doubt God's promises. But let me stop you right there, chosen one, because none of those lies are true. The truth is, they didn't see your worth because they didn't have the capacity to. People who can't see their own value will never recognize yours. They were blind to the treasure inside you because they were too focused on their own emptiness. And let me tell you something else. The way people treat you says more about them than it does about you. Their inability to see your value doesn't diminish your worth. It only exposes their own blindness. Here's what they didn't know. God doesn't make trash. The very heart they overlooked, the very soul they dismissed, was handcrafted by the Creator of the universe. You are fearfully and wonderfully made, chosen by God for a purpose far greater than their shallow vision could comprehend. They may have thrown you away, but heaven has always seen you as a masterpiece. And the funny thing about God's masterpieces, He loves to take what others discard and turn it into something so magnificent that even your enemies have to stop and stare. They treated you like a broken piece of pottery, something cracked and useless. But let me remind you of this. Broken pottery in the hands of God becomes more beautiful than it ever was before. In Japanese culture, there's an art called kintsugi, where broken pottery is repaired with gold, making the cracks and flaws part of the design. The result? The piece is even more valuable than it was before it broke. That's exactly what God is doing in your life. What they broke, He's repairing with the gold of His love and purpose. What they threw away, He's transforming into something so beautiful that its value is undeniable. Chosen one, you are not defined by the way they treated you. Their rejection, their cruelty, their failure to see your worth, none of that determines your value. What they couldn't see, God always knew. And now, He's about to reveal it to the world. He's turning the very areas where you felt discarded into the places where you'll shine the brightest. What they abandoned, God is elevating. What they rejected, God is using as the foundation for something extraordinary. And here's the best part. The love that's coming into your life will show you just how much you're worth. This isn't just any love. It's the kind of love that God has been preparing for you all along. It's the love that will value you in ways you've never experienced. It's the love that will treat you like the treasure you've always been. The person God is sending won't just see your worth. They'll cherish it. They'll see you the way heaven sees you, and they'll love you the way God intended you to be loved. Chosen one, don't let their rejection, their treatment of you, make you forget who you are. You're not trash. You were never trash. You are a treasure, and treasures are often hidden until the right time. The fact that they didn't see your worth doesn't mean it wasn't there. It means they weren't worthy of it. God has been keeping you hidden, refining you, preparing you for a love and a purpose that they wouldn't have been able to handle. What they threw away is what God is lifting up. Remember this. You are not defined by the ones who didn't see your value. You are defined by the one who created you, the one who has been watching over you, the one who is now stepping in to show the world just how valuable you are. And when this love comes into your life, it will silence every lie, every doubt, every mocking word. You are not what they said you were. You are chosen. You are loved. You are treasure. So, let them think they won. Let them believe they were right to treat you the way they did. Because when God reveals what He's been preparing for you, they'll see that they didn't throw away trash. They walked away from a treasure. And chosen one, the treasure they abandoned is about to shine so brightly that it blinds them. Stay with me. Your moment is coming. Number 4. The fool that outsmarted them all. They called you a fool for waiting, but the wisdom of God makes the arrogance of the world look like folly. They laughed at you, didn't they? Every time you chose to hold on to hope, every time you refused to settle, they smirked and called you foolish. What kind of person waits for love in this world? They mocked. Why don't you just give up and move on? They rolled their eyes at your patience, at your faith, at your refusal to compromise on what your heart knew it deserved. To them, you were a dreamer, living in a fantasy. They thought they were so clever, so wise, as if their shallow understanding of love could ever compare to the divine plan God has been weaving for you. But here's the truth they couldn't see. The real fool wasn't you, it was them. The joke's on them now, because God has been preparing something so extraordinary for you that their small, cynical minds could never comprehend it. The very thing they ridiculed, Your patience, your faith, your belief in divine timing is about to become your greatest victory. You weren't foolish for waiting. You were wise enough to trust the process. You were wise enough to know that rushing into anything less than what God has ordained would only lead to heartache. And now, chosen one, the love that's coming your way is about to silence every doubter. They thought they were so clever, so superior in their logic, but they failed to understand that God's wisdom confounds the wise. While they scoffed at your faith, heaven was working behind the scenes. While they were busy chasing fleeting relationships and hollow connections, you were building something deeper, trust in God's timing, and that trust is about to bear fruit. Think about it. How often does the world glorify quick fixes and shortcuts? They called you a fool because you didn't play by their rules, but you were never meant to follow their path. You were always set apart. The love that's coming into your life is not just a relationship, it's a divine promise. It's the kind of love that will leave your enemies stunned and speechless. It will be the proof that waiting on God is never in vain. Victory is yours, chosen one, and the beauty of it is that it's unfolding right in front of the people who said it would never happen. They underestimated you. They underestimated your patience, your strength, and your unwavering faith. They thought their doubt could define your destiny, but the love that's coming is about to prove them all wrong. God's timing is perfect, and His plans for you are unstoppable. Your patience wasn't foolish, it was divinely orchestrated. It was the key that unlocked this moment, the foundation upon which God is building something unshakable. What's coming is more than you ever dreamed of, more than they could ever imagine, and it's all because you trusted God when it didn't make sense to anyone else. Let them keep their arrogance. Your faith has already outsmarted them all. Stay with me, chosen one. The best is yet to come. Number 5. The ruins became your revival. The very ruins they thought would bury you became the stage where God's miracles came to life. Look back for a moment, chosen one. Do you remember the wreckage they left you in? The words they spoke cut deep. The rejection pierced your soul, and the betrayal left you gasping for air. They left you in pieces, standing in ruins, and walked away without a second thought. They thought they had finished you. They thought you'd never recover. You became nothing more than a passing memory to them, a joke, someone they thought had been defeated for good. But what they didn't realize is that the ruins they left behind became sacred ground for a miracle. The very place they abandoned you became the altar where God began His greatest work. Every tear you cried, every broken fragment of your heart, every shattered piece of your dream, they all became the raw material for something extraordinary. They thought they had destroyed you, but in God's hands, the ruins of your life became the foundation of a masterpiece. Do you see it now? The brokenness they left you with wasn't the end. It was the beginning of your revival. The heartbreak wasn't your burial. It was the soil where your spirit began to grow. The enemy wanted those ruins to be your prison, but God used them as a platform. They thought the chaos they caused would silence you, but God turned that chaos into order, into beauty, into glory. What was meant to destroy you has become the very thing God is using to elevate you. Chosen one, listen closely. There is power in the ruins. The places where you were torn apart are the very places where God is building you up. They saw rubble, but God saw restoration. They saw devastation, but God saw destiny. And now you stand stronger, brighter, and more resilient than ever. The people who walked away didn't just leave you in ruins. They left you in the hands of the Master Builder. And trust me, No one creates something magnificent like God does. Let them stare in disbelief when they see what God has done in your life. Let them wonder how someone they thought was broken beyond repair could shine so brightly. They'll never understand that the very rejection and heartbreak they caused were tools in the hands of God to shape you into who you were always meant to be. You see, the enemy's plans to break you were never a match for God's plans to bless you. Your broken heart? That was the altar where God created something new, something extraordinary. Your tears? They watered the seeds of greatness that are now growing into a harvest so abundant it will leave your enemies speechless. The ruins they thought would crush you have become your revival. The pain they caused has become your power. And the love they said you'd never find, it's on its way, greater than anything you've ever imagined. Chosen one, let me tell you this. What they left behind was never the end of you. It was the beginning of a testimony that will inspire others. What was meant to destroy you has become the foundation of your greatest victory. You are not defined by the ruins they created. You are defined by the revival God has brought to life in you. Keep walking. Keep trusting. The ruins are behind you, and your destiny is ahead. God is turning every broken piece into a glorious masterpiece, and soon the love and joy He's sending your way will complete the story. This is your revival, and nothing can stop what God is building in you. Stay with me, chosen one, because the best is still to come. Number 6. They laughed, but you'll have the last word. Let them laugh now, for every sneer is fuel for God's glory. When your love story unfolds, their mockery will turn into silence, and their doubt into envy. They laughed, didn't they? Oh, how they laughed. They mocked your faith, your dreams, your unshakable hope. To them, you were just a joke, a fool holding on to the impossible, a dreamer waiting for something they swore would never come. They sneered when you spoke of true love, rolled their eyes when you mentioned God's timing, and smirked as if they had all the answers. Their words cut deep, didn't they? Keep dreaming, they said. It's never going to happen. You'll be waiting forever. But chosen one, hear me clearly. Let them laugh. Let their words echo, because every snide remark they've made is about to crumble under the weight of God's vindication. The love He is sending into your life will silence them in ways their mockery could never prepare them for. They laughed because they couldn't see what heaven was doing. They couldn't see how God was writing your story behind the scenes. To them, your waiting looked like wasting, but to God, it was preparation. To them, your faith seemed foolish, but in heaven, it was proof of your strength. They thought their laughter would break you, but chosen one, the power of God's promise is greater than the noise of their mockery. And when your love story unfolds, when the divine plan finally comes to light, they'll realize they weren't laughing at you. They were laughing at the masterpiece God was creating. They just couldn't see it yet. The enemy thrives on mocking what he fears most. That's why their sneers came with such bitterness. They mocked you because they couldn't understand you. People fear what they can't comprehend, and chosen one, the depth of your faith and the favor of God on your life were too much for them to grasp. So they did the only thing they knew how to do. They laughed. But what they didn't understand is this: God always has the last laugh. Your love story will be a testimony so powerful it will make your enemies question their own lives. The very people who said you were foolish for waiting, for hoping, for trusting, will look at you in awe and wonder how they ever doubted you. The love that God is preparing for you isn't just an answer to your prayers. It's a statement to the world. It will show them that God's timing is perfect, that His promises are true, and that nothing and no one can stop what He has ordained. So let them laugh. Let their mockery fill the air, because it's only temporary. What God is about to do in your life will not just silence their laughter, it will transform it into regret. Regret that they ever doubted you. Regret that they couldn't see the divine light in you. Regret that they underestimated the power of the one who chose you. Chosen one, you don't need to defend yourself. You don't need to argue, explain, or prove your worth to anyone. God Himself will vindicate you. When your love story unfolds, it will be clear to everyone watching that this wasn't your doing, it was His. And that kind of victory, it speaks louder than words ever could. So let them laugh now. Let them roll their eyes and shake their heads. Because when the time comes, and it's coming soon, their laughter will stop. Their disbelief will turn to awe. Their sneers will be silenced by the undeniable evidence of God's glory in your life. God always has the final word, and chosen one, His word over your life is victory. Your love story is being written by the Creator of the universe, and no amount of laughter or mockery can erase it. They laughed, but you'll rise. They doubted, but you'll shine. And in the end, they'll see what heaven has known all along. You were chosen, and God always delivers on His promises. Number 7. Your pain was the price for purpose. Every tear was a seed, every heartbreak a lesson. Chosen one, let's not sugarcoat it. The pain you endured was real. It wasn't just a passing ache or a fleeting wound. It was agony that gripped your heart and left you breathless. You cried out in the stillness, "Why me, God? Why do I have to feel this much, break this often, lose this deeply?" The world told you to get over it, to move on, to stop being so sensitive. But what they failed to see is that your pain wasn't pointless. It was the price for purpose. Every tear you shed was a seed planted in the soil of your destiny. Every heartbreak, every rejection, every time you were betrayed or abandoned, it was all part of a greater plan. They thought they were breaking you, but God was using those very moments to build something within you that no one could take away. The enemy wanted your pain to destroy you, but God used it to prepare you. Your tears were not wasted, chosen one. They watered the garden of your purpose. And let's be honest, there were moments when it felt like too much, like the weight of it all might crush you. You questioned if God even saw your struggle, if He heard your prayers, if He cared about the love you longed for. But what you didn't know then, and what I'm here to tell you now, is that God was never absent in your pain. He was there, collecting every tear, turning every heartbreak into wisdom, and molding every piece of your broken heart into a vessel strong enough to carry the love He's about to send your way. You see, chosen one, God doesn't waste pain. He doesn't let you walk through the fire for nothing. He allows it to refine you, to burn away the doubts and fears that would hold you back from stepping into your destiny. That ache you felt, it was teaching you patience, perseverance, and faith. That heartbreak, it was showing you how to recognize what's real and what's counterfeit. The love you prayed for couldn't come until the person you were meant to be was fully prepared to receive it. And now, here you are, stronger, wiser, radiant. The love story God is preparing for you will make every tear, every lonely night, every heartbreak worth it. When it comes, chosen one, it will be a love so pure, so divinely orchestrated, that it will make you look back and say, "Now I understand. Now I see why it had to be this way." Your pain wasn't wasted. It was an investment in the masterpiece God is unveiling. Remember this, your pain had a purpose, and that purpose is your elevation. God is not just giving you a love story, He's giving you a testimony that will inspire others. The pain was worth the purpose, and the purpose will be worth the wait. Keep walking, chosen one. You are on the brink of something extraordinary. Number 8. God's approval outweighs their rejection. Their rejection means nothing when heaven has already stamped approved on your love story. Chosen one, let's get one thing clear. Their rejection doesn't define you. It never did, and it never will. The people who walked away, the ones who dismissed your worth and cast doubt on your dreams, they have no power over what God has already set in motion for your life. Their no is irrelevant when heaven has already declared yes. Their rejection was nothing more than a detour, a redirection, because God's plan for you cannot be stopped by human opinion. While they mocked, dismissed, and doubted you, heaven was moving. They couldn't see the divine stamp that marked your life, but it was there all along. Approved. Approved by the Creator of the universe. Approved by the one who holds your future in His hands. Approved by the God who does not change His mind or revoke His promises. What God has approved, no man can deny, no enemy can destroy, and no rejection can cancel. You see, divine favor isn't something the world can comprehend. When people see you rising, when they see you walking into the love story God has written for you, they'll wonder how it's even possible. They'll question how someone they overlooked, mocked, or underestimated could receive something so extraordinary. But chosen one, that's the beauty of God's approval. It doesn't make sense to the world. His favor doesn't follow their rules. It's not earned by their standards, nor can it be revoked by their opinions. What God approves is unshakable, unstoppable, undeniable. The love He is sending your way isn't the result of human effort or manipulation. It's a divine orchestration. It's not something you chased after or begged for. It's something God has been preparing for you, long before the rejection, long before the heartbreak. He saw the end from the beginning, and He knew that every tear, every closed door, and every no would only bring you closer to His perfect yes. Let this sink in. The same God who created the stars, who commands the oceans, who holds the universe in His hands, looked at your love story and said, "It is good, it is approved, it is sealed." And when God seals something, no force on earth or in hell can unseal it. Chosen one, your true love isn't coming because of luck or chance. It's not the result of your striving or your desperation. It's coming because God Himself has written it into your destiny. It's a love so profound, so pure, that it will silence every doubt and prove every naysayer wrong. The rejection you endured will pale in comparison to the glory of what's ahead. So hold your head high. Their rejection has no power over you, because heaven's approval outweighs it all. Trust in the one who holds your story, and rest in the assurance that your love is not only coming, it's divinely guaranteed. Number 9. The enemy's lies are exposed. The enemy told you lies, that you'd always be alone, that no one could love you. Chosen one, let's call it what it is. The enemy tried to break you. Whispering in the quiet moments, he planted lies designed to make you question everything about yourself. He told you that you were unworthy, unlovable, destined to walk through life alone. Those lies weren't just words, they were weapons aimed at your spirit. The enemy saw the light in you, the favor on your life, and he was terrified of what would happen if you ever discovered the truth. So he lied. He told you love wasn't meant for you. He told you no one would ever choose you. He made you feel like your heart, your soul, your very existence were burdens instead of blessings. But here's the thing about lies: they don't last. The truth has a way of rising, and chosen one, that's exactly what's happening now. Every lie the enemy tried to weave into your mind is being exposed for what it is. Fear. Fear of the destiny God has written for you. Fear of the love that's about to come into your life. Fear of the light in you that the enemy knows he can't extinguish. The enemy's greatest weapon is deception, and his greatest fear is a chosen one who sees through it. The truth is this: you were never unlovable. You were never alone. You were never forgotten. God's eyes have been on you every step of the way, and his love for you is unshakable. The enemy wanted you to believe his lies because he knew the power of the blessing God has for you. He saw what you couldn't yet see, that your love story was already approved, already written, already sealed by heaven. Chosen one, the lies are crumbling. The enemy told you that no one could love you, but God says you are fearfully and wonderfully made, worthy of a love so profound it reflects his own heart. The enemy tried to convince you that you'd always be alone, but God has been preparing a divine connection that will not only heal you, but elevate you. The enemy said you were forgotten, but heaven's angels have been working tirelessly on your behalf, moving pieces into place to fulfill God's promise to you. Victory is yours, and the truth will silence every lie. The love that's coming into your life will be the living proof that the enemy's whispers were nothing but fear masquerading as fact. Every doubt he planted will wither under the light of God's truth. Every time he said, "You'll never find love," heaven was laughing, knowing that your love story was already in progress. God's truth is louder than the enemy's lies. It drowns out the noise, exposes the deception, and sets you free. Chosen one, let go of the lies. They hold no power here. Trust in the truth of who you are and the love God has prepared for you. The enemy thought he could break you, but he underestimated the power of God's truth. You are chosen, loved, and victorious, and nothing can change that. Number 10. The wait was a weapon. Your waiting wasn't passive, it was active warfare. Chosen one, let me tell you something the enemy doesn't want you to realize. Your waiting was never wasted. Every moment you held on, every time you resisted the urge to settle, every prayer you whispered in the quiet of your heart, that wasn't passivity, it was power. The world might have mocked you, calling your patience foolish, but what they didn't see is that your waiting was a weapon. It was warfare against every lie, every scheme, and every tactic the enemy used to try to derail you. The enemy thought your waiting would wear you down. He thought the silence, the loneliness, and the unanswered prayers would make you give up, lose faith, and settle for less than what God promised you. But chosen one, what the enemy didn't understand is that your patience wasn't weakness, it was strength. Every time you chose to trust God instead of giving in to fear, every time you stood firm when doubt tried to creep in, you were fighting back. Your waiting wasn't sitting still, it was standing strong in faith. And let's be honest, it wasn't easy. There were moments when the weight felt unbearable, when the weight of longing pressed down on you so heavily, you wondered if it was all for nothing. But even in those moments, when the enemy whispered, "Just give up," you refused to let go. You chose to believe that God's plan for your life was worth the wait. And that choice, that was your weapon. Every second you held on, you were disarming the enemy, proving that your faith was stronger than his lies. Here's the truth. Waiting is not passive. It's not idle time spent wishing and hoping. Waiting is active alignment with God's timing. It's choosing to stay on his path, even when it feels slower than you'd like. It's trusting that He's working behind the scenes, weaving together a story so beautiful that it could only come from His hands. The enemy underestimated the power of your patience. He didn't realize that while you were waiting, God was building something unshakable within you, something that would make you unstoppable when the time came. And now, chosen one, the wait is over. The season of patience is giving way to the season of fulfillment. The love you've prayed for, the joy you've longed for, the promises you've clung to, they're here. What the enemy thought would break you has only prepared you. What the world called foolish, heaven calls faith. And now, the reward of your waiting is stepping into your life, divinely orchestrated and sealed with God's approval. This love, this blessing, this season of victory, it's not just for you. It's a testament to the power of patience, a declaration that waiting on God is never in vain. So, hold your head high, chosen one. The wait was your weapon, and now it's your testimony. The time has come, and the reward is here. You didn't just survive the waiting, you thrived through it. And now, you're stepping into the promise that was always meant for you. Number 11. Their words can't stop what's coming. Every cruel word they spoke over you holds no power. Chosen one, let's face it, there was no shortage of negativity. They spoke over you with sharp tongues, casting doubts on your dreams and mocking your faith. They said you were chasing fantasies, holding on to false hope. Their words were like arrows, aimed to pierce your confidence and break your spirit. They wanted you to believe their narrative, to shrink under the weight of their doubts, and let go of the promises you've been holding so tightly. But here's the truth they failed to understand. Their words carry no weight in the presence of God's plan. Every cruel thing they said, every dismissive laugh, every whispered insult, it's powerless. Why? Because the one who has the final say over your life has already spoken, and His word is unshakable. His word is yes and amen. His word has already declared victory over your life and your love story. While they were busy trying to tear you down, heaven was lifting you up. Every insult they hurled at you was met with God's protection. Every time they said, "It will never happen," heaven responded, "It is already done." The opinions of people hold no authority over a life that has been marked by divine favor. And your life, chosen one, has been marked. The plans God has for you are unstoppable, untouchable, and undeniable no matter what anyone says. The enemy loves to use words as weapons. He wants you to believe that the negative things they said about you are true. He wants you to replay their cruel remarks in your mind, to let them take root and grow into doubt and despair. But let me tell you something the enemy doesn't want you to know. Their words are just noise. They're empty. They have no power to change what God has already decreed. What's coming for you, this love, this blessing, this season of joy, it's bigger than their words. It's bigger than their doubts. It's bigger than their rejection. They might have thought they were writing the story when they tried to define you with their negativity, but they're about to find out that God is the author of your story, and His script doesn't include their lies. Let them talk, chosen one. Let them say whatever they want. It won't stop what's coming. In fact, their negativity will only make your victory sweeter. When the love God has prepared for you arrives, it will silence every doubter. The very people who said it would never happen will be left speechless, watching as you walk into the blessing they swore you'd never have. So lift your head high. You don't need to defend yourself against their words, because God is your defender. What's coming is so magnificent, so divine, that it will speak for itself. Their words can't stop what God has already approved. And chosen one, the time is coming when they'll have no choice but to watch as you walk boldly into everything they said was impossible. Number 12, the divine union that will silence the doubters. This love will be a testament to God's faithfulness. Chosen one, the moment has arrived. The love story you've prayed for, dreamed of, and waited so patiently to receive is finally here. And it's not just any love, it's a divine union, a masterpiece carefully crafted by the hands of the Creator. This love isn't ordinary, and it isn't fleeting. It's eternal, unshakable, and so profoundly beautiful that it will leave everyone who doubted you stunned and silent. They said it wasn't possible. They said your standards were too high, your faith was naive, and your waiting was in vain. They mocked your dreams and laughed at your hope. But what they didn't understand is that this wasn't just your dream. It was God's promise. And God always fulfills His promises. Every whispered doubt, every mocking laugh, every "you'll never have that" will be silenced in the face of the love that's now entering your life. This isn't just a love story. It's a living, breathing testament to God's faithfulness. It's proof that His timing is perfect, that His plans are flawless, and that no human rejection or earthly obstacle can stand in the way of what He has ordained. Chosen one, this love isn't here to simply make you happy. It's here to complete the work God has been doing in you all along. It's the answer to every tear you cried, every prayer you prayed, and every promise He whispered to your heart. And it's not just about you. This love is bigger than your own healing and joy. It's about what it will inspire in others. The world is watching, and they'll see in your story the undeniable hand of God. The doubters, the skeptics, the ones who thought your faith was misplaced, they'll have no choice but to recognize that this love could only have come from heaven. What they called foolish, God has turned into glory. What they dismissed, God has exalted. This divine union will heal the deepest wounds of your heart. It will restore every broken place, proving that God never leaves His chosen ones in ruins. But it will also do something even greater. It will inspire. Your story will ignite hope in the hearts of those who have stopped believing. It will remind them that God's love is real, His promises are true, and His timing is worth trusting. Your love story will ripple outward, touching lives and transforming hearts in ways you may never fully realize. So hear this, chosen one, your time has come. The love that is stepping into your life now is not just the culmination of your waiting. It's the beginning of a new chapter, one filled with joy, purpose, and divine fulfillment. This love will leave the world in awe and the doubters in silence. You've waited, you've endured, and now you're about to receive the reward that was always meant for you. Chosen one, your true love is here. It's a love story written in heaven, sealed by God, and unveiled for the world to see. Let the doubters watch, let the skeptics wonder, and let the world stand in awe. Because what God has brought together, nothing can tear apart. This is your divine union, and it is glorious. Chosen one, what they thought would break you has only built you stronger. Every tear, every rejection, every moment of waiting was preparing you for this triumph. Your true love is not just a gift, it's living proof of God's faithfulness and divine favor over your life. This love is a testament to His promises, a reflection of His glory, and a reward for your unwavering trust. Step into this season boldly, chosen one, because your true love is here. God has approved it, and nothing can stop it now. Subscribe, like, and share this message. Your victory is here.